Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as obeying the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. And that was 1 Samuel 15, verses 1 through 22, 23. I apologize. And I know it was pretty lengthy, but you have to read and understand the full context of this passage to understand what the Lord is saying. And tonight he is saying that your obedience is better than any sacrifice.
Amen.
Your obedience to what the Lord is saying is better than any sacrifice. It's better, or would have, and he really was telling Saul, your obedience is better, or would have been better than any sacrifice you could have offered me. Your rebellion and your determination to have things go your way is similar to witchcraft. It's similar to divination because you're rebelling against the nature and the will of God. So we see this also, and there was another example the Lord led me to, and this was Jacob. As far as Jacob was blessed from the beginning, but what he did is that by tricking his brother, he tricked his brother into taking something that was already designated and that had already belonged to him, and he didn't have to do it. But he did things his way and not God's way. So going back to the passage describes King Saul blatantly disobeying the instructions of the Lord. As you and I read, we understand that the instructions were clear and simple enough for anyone to fulfill. Very clear. Saul demonstrated partial obedience, kind of like some people have selective hearing. We hear what we want to hear, and we hear who we want to hear, but we just don't want to hear everything. And we all do know that partial obedience is the same thing as disobedience.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
If Saul had followed the instructions of the Lord, he would have continued to reign under the guidance of God. But since, if you're not familiar with his story, but since he dismissed God, God dismissed him and removed his spirit from him and from his kingdom, from his reign. And because instead of giving God what he wanted, he offered God his sacrifice, not God's sacrifice, but Saul's sacrifice. So it's kind of like someone offering you a gift that only they would like or appreciate. And many of us, we have